Aloha, Jessica here. Thanks for joining me. This is my presentation on a usability study of an asynchronous training environment. This is my project for our 690 course. I apologize I can't be in class tonight, but I've gone ahead and recorded what I would have shared tonight had I been able to attend. So hopefully this gives you an idea of what I've been working on as far as our project. Thanks. Just to kind of recap my project. The title of it was Usability Study of an Asynchronous Training Environment, and basically what I was doing was testing an online training portal that had been set up to provide instructional training for a team of virtual instructors who are accessing the site nationwide. And so the training portal is actually located at this address listed here. It's iteration number 3 that was done on the 23rd of November. I haven't created the final iteration of the site. Implementation and data gathering has been complete. I conducted usability tests via remote Blackboard Collaborate, and then I also did asynchronous data gathering through embedded surveys and evaluation. That portion of the project is complete. I'm currently working on the data analysis and the final site iteration, which will happen, and I will use rapid prototyping. That will occur after I complete the final data analysis and provide recommendations. So if you want more details about some of those steps that I took in between the data gathering and now the analysis, you can find more details at the address listed here on the slide. As far as participant profiles, for those who participated in my study, there were 46 asynchronous participants. That means 46 participants went through the training module and completed the embedded evaluation surveys. There were 9 usability and asynchronous participants. This means they did the usability test plus the embedded surveys. This pool was gathered from our current Ingenuity teachers, and these were teachers who had a full-time load of 150 to 250 students. They were also employed with the company for 2+ years, and they were working in all content areas, including core, electives, and career tech. Their experience teaching online ranged from 0 years to 20+ years. As far as tech experience, I had them complete a pre-demographic evaluation survey, and they scored, 92% of them scored a 5, which means they're proficient with the use of technology. Just to go back over the implementation of what I did, I had 2 different test situations. I had to use a live usability test, which is conducted synchronously via Blackboard Collaborate. This is my Blackboard room address. It was a 1 hour maximum time frame, usually ranged between 40 minutes to 60 minutes. I followed the pre-approved script that is also located on my Google site usability draft documents. And then I recorded the session. Prior to recording, I made sure I had consent and communicated that the session would be recorded. In the usability test, I made sure that there was no identifying information so that we could keep the testing results as anonymous as possible. The second portion was the asynchronous evaluations, which included a pre-training demographic survey, 4 embedded evaluations that were created in Google Forms. The training site is in a Google site, and they occurred after Unit 1, Unit 3A, and Unit 4, and then a final evaluation study. I utilized a code, which was UH study, to help identify the participants and separate them from other teachers who were going through the training portal as well. There was also, I also created unique user login permissions so that it was provided behind a secure portal, and the secure user access only allowed them to submit a evaluation survey one time. So once it was submitted, they couldn't go back and redo it and submit more. This is just to help keep that data clean in the system. Like I mentioned, most of the data for the asynchronous evaluation was gathered via Google Forms embedded surveys. There was a lot of data. This is just a snapshot view of some of that data that was gathered on the back end of the program. I'm currently working on analyzing the data that I gathered over the last semester. So all of the usability test recordings, I've gone through those recordings, and all of the embedded evaluation surveys, I've gone through all of that material as well. For the first part, for the usability test, I'm going to take the data and feedback that I gathered from those testings, and I'm going to manually enter that data into iChart. I had utilized a 5-point Likert scale while I was conducting that testing to provide a systematic approach. So I'm going to enter in that data manually into iChart so I can have a data visualization of that feedback. feedback and what occurred during that setting. The usability test, to me, seems like it'll be the easier part to analyze that data because it's based off of Steve Krug's Don't Make Me Think, and I was testing for functionality of the site. So things like, is the button in the right place? Is it the right color? Does it respond quickly? Are there breadcrumbs that lead back to the original page? Are the graphics appropriate for the content? All of those things that can be changed pretty quickly on the fly utilizing rapid prototyping, and that tests the functionality and navigation of the site. The more difficult part comes during the embedded evaluation data analysis. So for the asynchronous evaluation surveys that were conducted after Unit 1, Unit 3A, Unit 4, and the final evaluation survey. Right here you can see this is a snapshot of a summary of one of those evaluations. You can see it's broken out as a bar graph. And I utilized the 5-point Likert scale as well, utilizing strongly disagree, neither disagree or agree, and strongly agree. Any of those data points and those variables that scored a 51% or higher indicate to me that something about that learning object needs to be changed. And so for each of those areas, I will individually look at them and decide whether we're moving in the right direction, either disagree with what is occurring at that time or agreeing. I'll focus changes for those parts of the training. Asynchronous evaluations measured learner experience and learner satisfaction, and this was following Kirkpatrick's 4 models of training evaluation. Some of the questions that occurred during these evaluations were things like, does the content fit your needs exactly? Is the system user-friendly? Does it respond quickly? Does it allow you to evaluate your learning performance? Does it enable you to control your learning progress? So these are the different variables that I measured for, and so those are a little bit harder to take that data and provide recommendations as far as what needs to be changed. As discussed earlier, this usability study is really part of a full-scale iterative design process. So basically, by testing, employing rapid prototyping, retesting, employing rapid prototyping, we begin to move the site closer to what would be a more usable site and provide a higher degree of learner experience and learner satisfaction as they go through that course material. Variables scoring 51% or higher, I would employ rapid prototyping. I would use iterative design based on Steve Krug's Don't Make Me Think. And then also on one other book called Design for How People Learn by Julie Dirksen, who has about 15 years in instructional design experience. As far as asynchronous evaluations, I was evaluating for learner experience design or LX design. Variables with the lowest score indicated that there needed to be a change to that e-learning. Design framework was built on subject matter experts, so if there was corrections that needed to be made to the content or there are content errors, I would defer to subject matter experts. And I would also utilize Hodell's instructional design from the ground up, those practices and approaches to instructional design and changes for an e-learning environment. So just to close out my presentation, I hope that gives you an idea of where I'm at. The data analysis is the hardest part, and so I'm trying to be really careful about how I approach it. Provide final recommendations and a final iteration of the site that hopefully has improved over these last 3 iterations. And so thanks so much. Have a great night.